Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit that subscribe button if you're new so you don't miss any of our great football content this season. All right, Jason Timpf, Hoops Tonight. We got about 45 minutes to an hour to unpack. We're going to start with NBA, and then we're going to go to college basketball because I have literally sat in front of a television for 15 hours over the last 2 days watching the college basketball tournament. I just got back from a vacation, and I highly recommend folks. I highly recommend folks that if you're thinking of going to the Caribbean, try Anguilla. Not a lot of cruise ships show up. You can hide. The hospitality is amazing. They don't have a big deep port, so cruise ships don't stop. And it is just a great place to take a partner. Not a lot of golf courses, one on the whole island. But if you want to take books, watch podcasts on the volume, read, drink, and relax. I've never slept better in my life. And and I know you travel a lot, Jason, and you love traveling. You don't head east much. You're mostly Rockies West, right?
Yeah, well, so I've been in kind of a Pacific Northwest kick lately. I've spent a lot of time in Seattle, a lot of time up in Vancouver, a lot of time in Alaska. Now that we just moved to Colorado, I really want to spend some time in Colorado and Montana this summer. Yeah. I will eventually make my way back over there. But yeah, it's okay to not have a golf course when you're on vacation with the wife. I feel like that's a really quick way to get into some trouble.
Absolutely. So let's start with the NBA, the Lakers, and I think a lot of when a team is losing, they listen to their coach, right? And the Lakers had lost a couple of straight, had some bad late game possessions, and Luka was, for the first time as a Laker, getting heat. And I was one of the many people saying, I think LeBron's still great, but I don't think he fits with Luka and Austin Reeves. And LeBron's got rabbit ears. He reacted to it. He has played unbelievable. I think Luka's scored 30 plus in all of their wins, which I think is an NBA record. That's what the Laker account said. And so I think you and I would agree with this. We know they're a great half-court offense. They have multiple ball creators. Outside of Marcus Smart, everybody's an offensive player. They have length. They have shot creators. They have excellent passing. Austin Reeves has established himself. It's no longer he's a nice number 4. Like, he's a real good playmaker. The question for us has always been, okay, in the NBA playoffs, it's the only professional league in this country where it's officiated differently. You don't get the whistle. You have to play collective defense almost every possession of second halves, and I don't know if they can do it. And I think we've agreed on that they're a tremendously offensive, gifted team. The rules in football and basketball over the last decade have moved to offense for both smartly to make the game more appealing. Does this Laker team, gifted offensively, do we feel differently today? Does it translate to the playoffs? Are they maybe a little more profound offensively than maybe we thought 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think there's been improvement on both ends of the floor. I want to start with JJ because I think the work that he's done has been really important. I mean, this was a team at one point, Colin, they had lost 12 out of 13 times against teams that had at least a 60% win percentage.
Yep.
Like, they could not beat good teams, and they were just rolling over and getting killed in those games. Now they've won 5 of those in a row. They've won 7 straight against playoff level teams because they just beat Miami and Orlando, both of which are feisty teams. And it really comes down to a handful of complete reversals. First of all, JJ has them completely bought in. When we last talked about the Lakers, Colin, we were talking about how they cannot win in any way other than winning with their offense. They are now generating margin in several key areas now. Pre-All-Star break, 23rd in defense. Post-All-Star, 12th. Nothing to write home about, but considering their personnel, that's pretty good. They're just
Denver won a title in that space. Remember that Jokic team? They were like 13. You don't have to be a great defensive team to win a title. You have to be competent situationally.
That's the formula. If you have an unbelievable, unguardable offense, then you just have to be pretty good on defense. And they've established that over the last few weeks. Secondly, and this is the big one that's been shocking to me, they are generating a lot of margin scoring off of turnovers. JJ's been way more aggressive, and this is what I think has been really smart. Because, like, say you're a coach and you're trying to figure out how to get a team to play defense when you don't have good defensive personnel. You have to, like, track down, okay, what is the thing that we have that is a strength for our defense? And what it is is their basketball IQ. They have a lot of really smart players, including
Yeah,
Marcus
yeah,
Smart, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic. They have a lot of really smart players. And so
yeah,
JJ's been way more aggressive with their coverages. They're putting two on the ball more than ever. This has put an emphasis on their defensive IQ because in the 4-on-3s that ensue after that, it's a lot of anticipating what happens next. And they're jumping a lot of those passing lanes and they're forcing turnovers. They were 17th in steals pre All-Star break, 11th post All-Star break. Then you have this incredibly fast attack in transition, something LeBron has been a huge part of. Pre All-Star break, the Lakers were losing the points off of turnovers battle by 1.6 per game. Post All-Star, they're plus 6.2. That is a huge margin in points off of turnovers that now is helping them build lots of margin for error in every single game.
yeah,
They were negative in overall fast break points pre All-Star. Now they're positive post All-Star. So JJ
yeah,
deserves a lot of credit for just getting a very offensive minded group to buy into finding ways to win games outside of their offense. But also their offense is amazing now, in large part because one, Luka has finally ascended to that best player in the world level of
yeah,
basketball. When he has it going from three, especially, he just brings this combination of like the Steph Curry, I'm taking 12, 13 threes, and what if I make seven of them kind of thing that
yeah,
he brings to the table, while also being as physically imposing as Jokic, as good of a passer as Jokic, and having the mid-range shot-making piece that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander brings to the table. So Luka's been unbelievable. Austin has found his rhythm finally. He's struggled a little bit with athleticism, but table that because that's where LeBron comes
yeah,
in. And as Austin and Luka have taken so much more of the offensive load, that has finally allowed LeBron to slot into that like evolutionary Draymond Green role that we've all thought he would do at this phase in his career, but he just needed the right amount of ball handling around him to slot into that role. To LeBron's credit, for all the talk about him not doing enough of that stuff, Austin was hurt most of the season. He had no
yeah.
choice but to step into that role. And by the way, like in the Houston games, Austin can get a little overwhelmed against some of these athletes. Amen
No
Thompson did
question.
a number
Yep.
against Austin in those two
Oh,
Houston games.
yep.
But then here comes LeBron. I can give you 30 against a smaller athletic team because he's so big and strong. And that's where he can become more Karl Maloney and he can do his physical bully ball.
Yeah, I mean, the downside to being gifted offensively, and there's not a lot of them, but the Warrior team was a great example when they had Clay and Durant and Steph. The first year, they were all in every game. I mean, they just blew through people. The second and third years, it's like there's nights like we'll get our points. And you get caught into a cycle of, defense, even if you're Draymond Green, defense is hard. It's hard for great defensive players. And to be great defensively collectively is rare. That's usually teams that don't have offense. That's why Oklahoma City is such a pain in the ass. They're good offensively and collectively they give you such an effort. That's rare, right? Usually even the great Spurs teams, Duncan and Bruce Bowen gave you defense. To get 6, 7 guys in rotation to care. But offense is different. It's easy for the great players. Offense is easy for Luka and Austin. I mean, even Rui, LeBron still, like beating people off the dribble. Like LeBron's just a bully. And so I think the downside to being as gifted as the Lakers are is that it is easy to lull yourself into hang around and it's tied at 88 and we'll go on a spurt. I think this is my interpretation of what Redick has done. He has forced them to be really focused early. They don't fall into holes. He's taken these gifted offensive players, and JJ was talented. I think they're a much more motivated team. Now, some of it is probably the criticism. And I'm sure JJ has reminded them that LeBron, you don't fit, Luka. But when I watch them play, they're very intentional. The possessions really, like they come out of the half. That's my take on the Lakers. JJ, these are stars. Two of the biggest stars in the game. Maybe the two biggest stars, Luka and LeBron. And they're complementary. LeBron's been a great, Luke Kennard the other night, he races over to him. And I do think that's the art of coaching. Phil Jackson, the art of coaching superstars. Joe Torre with the Yankees when he had A-Rod and Jeter. Being able to ride them, to the, just enough, push the buttons. And I think JJ's, it's that Duke education, whatever it is. JJ is really good with stars. He's a really good I mean, that's how he's great at pushing buttons. I think this is as good as Luka's played in 3 years. I think the last 8 games, that's the best LeBron's been in 2 years, 3 years. I think I mean, to me, Jason, there's an art to coaching stars, and not every coach can do it. Today's show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, American Beverage. If you think about some of the most iconic drinks in the country, the ones you grab at a barbecue, the ones you raise to celebrate your team, that have been part of your story for decades, Coke, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, there's something people don't always think about. The companies behind those brands are still making their drinks right here in the U.S. While there's a lot of talk about bringing manufacturing back, America's beverage companies never left. They're American companies making American products with American workers in America's hometown. So 275,000 men and women across all 50 states, real jobs, good paying jobs, the kind of jobs you can raise a family on. So more than 100 years, those brands have been part of everyday lives, and they're still here, still investing, still operating in communities around the country. So if you care about strong local economies and companies that walk the walk, check out the good work and what they're doing at wedeliveforamerica.org.
Yeah, absolutely. I think JJ has found a way to kind of resonate with each player on an individual level. Like JJ obviously built rapport with LeBron through the podcast that they did together. JJ was Luka's teammate for a little while in Dallas. So like they have a little rapport from their locker room time spent together. JJ and Austin have clicked from the very beginning. I love that you brought up the criticism, because I think that's an important part of this. Like it has pushed all of them to another level, because all of them are sick of it. They're all sick of all the stuff that's been being said, and all the criticism was valid. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of the criticism was valid. There were real areas of opportunity that needed to be brought up. And so Luka, you're getting this unbelievable, not just his own kind of individual peak. This recent last couple of weeks is like an all-time NBA regular season run. He's averaging 40 over the 9-game win streak, Colin. Like he had 100 points in 2 games. Like he's been absolutely unbelievable. And so,
and he's also, as you've pointed out, he's trash talking fans.
Yes.
So Luka is so gifted. He's moved off officials to some degree. He's moved into opponents and fans. And by the way, that's just part of basketball culture. Like Michael did it, everybody did it, Bird did it. I mean, it's just, you can't complain about that. I mean, most of our stars, Kobe Bryant chats with fans. I think JJ Redick has told Luka, I don't mind the trash talk, just direct it to other people.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's actually crazy because his relationship with refs was getting borderline toxic. I actually dug into the numbers because I was curious. There was a 12-game stretch around November, December where Luka was attempting 13 free throw attempts per game, because that was what he was doing every game. It was like entirely a ref game. Every play was a ref, like a foul baiting type of, he was just along the lane line trying to draw contact and jawing with officials. And it was like producing a lot of free throw attempts, but it wasn't producing a lot of impact in terms of what he was bringing to the game. Now he's focused on making shots and talking shit, which has been amazing, because not only is it way more entertaining to watch because he's got this like energy to him that's almost infectious, but it's also causing him to focus on all the right things, because now you got to back up your trash talk, right? And so he's really like, even when Luke Kennard hit that game winner last night, everyone's mobbing Luke, and Luka Doncic is literally blowing a kiss to the crowd because he's having a moment at the crowd's expense. It's so funny. But which takes me to LeBron, because I think the LeBron thing is fascinating here, because LeBron, there's an energy I see with him that I think stems in a lot of ways from the Luka piece. LeBron has won 4 championships. And in every single one of his 4 championships, maybe AD was close to his level in 2020, but LeBron was the best player in the world in 2020. He should have won MVP that year. Giannis robbed him of it. So LeBron knows you've got to be one of the guys. Like, you've got to be at a special level to hoist the trophy. I think LeBron looks over and goes, this is the Luka I can win with. This is the Luka that I am actually capable of reaching this dreamed 5th ring that he wants so bad, right? And so I'm seeing a level of focus and engagement from LeBron, because I think he believes that this group has a shot now in a way that he probably hasn't felt since 2021. because he's known that either he didn't have the juice or AD didn't have the juice because he was old and because AD had been kind of underwhelming as he entered that phase of his prime. So you have a LeBron that is doing things defensively, fighting through, like even that late play last night, he forced the turnover on Paolo Banchero that led to the eventual game winner. And it's like, I haven't seen LeBron flying around denying the basketball on an inbounds play like that in forever. Some of the rotations he's making at the rim on defense, the effort that he's putting in possession to possession, LeBron is locked in. I don't know if you saw the quote from the Miami game, early second quarter, they're down 15. JJ calls a timeout. He gets in the huddle and he's like, hey guys, I know we're tired. And LeBron steps up and goes, I'm not tired. And all of a sudden, like everyone's looking around like, well, if this dude's not tired, like we've got to meet this level. There's a level of engagement with LeBron that I haven't seen in a half decade. And so it's just made this team like this team, Colin, this team was such a chore to watch a month ago. And now it's like, I can't wait for the Monday night game against Detroit. Like, it's just, there's so much more fun to watch now because there's an energy that is coming from the top down that is making them play with a very entertaining brand of basketball.
Well, and I think, LeBron is always, and I say this respectfully, is that LeBron's very aware of the media. He listens, he reads. He's one of the smartest players of my lifetime. I mean, he may be the smartest player. Magic Johnson had the ability to not be a little bit of a part-time psychologist. Magic had to deal with the stoicism of Kareem. And, the Norm Nixon stuff, Byron Scott. There was a lot of stuff. Jerry Buss, the Playboy owner. Magic's coming into his own, feeling his oats, like, the fabulous forum, the women, the Magic kind of balanced it all. It kind of showed his layered ability to be great at several factors as a teammate, right? As a player, as a spokesman. A lot of egos back then in Los Angeles with the Lakers and West and Riley and Kareem and Magic and Jerry Buss, the owner. And LeBron has that ability. LeBron understands the world's watching. The Lakers are the biggest. I mean, he didn't move to LA because they had the best ownership group or the best front office. He moved here because it was great for business, and he figured he could power through it and move Anthony Davis here. So what I find interesting about this streak is that we're all pointing to Luka, but in large part, it's LeBron. His IQ is understanding. I bet you, I don't know this, but I bet LeBron's been unbelievable at practice. I bet he's been unbelievable on the team plane. I bet he's been unbelievable at dinner. Like, I think LeBron understands. He's like the old Justin Verlander as a pitcher. He didn't have to pitch to have value in the locker room in a playoff series. Like, he'd seen every batter, every moment. And I think there's a greatness. One of the things LeBron was criticized early in his career, and I thought it was totally unfair. He always did the right basketball thing. He always made the right pass. It was always about winning the game. And over the 9-game winning streak, you don't have to necessarily see all of it. I guarantee you LeBron behind the scenes has been magical. Coaching, practice, communication, dinners. And, so I want to pivot into an interesting comment this week. And it wasn't a shot at LeBron, but obviously you think of LeBron when KD said, Michael Jordan's bigger than basketball. And I've always said, Magic and Bird saved the NBA. Michael made it global. LeBron made it mobile. And it was thinking about that, and I want your thoughts on this. First of all, your thoughts, because I have one. Your thoughts on KD saying, like Michael Jordan's above basketball. They'll always be great players. They'll never be Michael. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about the saving of the NBA with Magic and Bird. Like, they brought it back from the brink, but MJ was what made the sport as culturally resonant as it is now.
He made
and
it cool.
Yeah, and like I know that you hear a lot of like LeBron versus MJ stuff in the media. You hear a lot of LeBron versus MJ stuff from fans, but talk to basketball players. You're not going to find a basketball player that doesn't revere Michael Jordan. Like, it's just such an important part of your basketball development, watching his footage. Like, I was a LeBron fan. I grew up a LeBron fan. LeBron's the reason I fell in love with basketball. You don't have any idea how many times I went and watched Michael Jordan's top 100 plays on YouTube. Like, it just the way that like shaped my entire love for the game of basketball. It's just, there's a certain there's a certain aura and a history that surrounds him that is insurmountable for even a guy like LeBron. And I think we've seen that with LeBron almost manifest in I don't want to call it insecurity because it manifests in like a reaction from him where like he'll often like promote himself as in some sort of effort to try to reach that level. But the
Yeah.
reality is there's a certain amount of like he was the first guy like that, and there will never be
Yeah.
another first guy like that. And
Well,
so
Michael
like
also, there was no social media. So
mhm.
part of what makes Michael fascinating was that we didn't know about his private life. There weren't the platforms. So you needed his basketball and his fashion. That was your gateway to knowing Michael. His
Mhm.
basketball, you didn't know about his marriage, you didn't know about his private life. We get so much of LeBron now, right? Like I know so much. I know where he lives. And so it doesn't feel special. It's like Jack Nicholson always had a theory. Don't go make people go to the theater to watch your work. Don't go on Johnny Carson. Don't
Mhm.
go on Letterman. Make him go to the theater. I don't know if Michael thought about that, but you had to either buy Michael's shoes or go to his game. That's how you saw Michael's greatness. LeBron's everywhere. And so I do think there's a mystery that there's nothing LeBron could have done about that. It's just there's a mystery about Michael and a uniqueness where I can watch the Laker game, go to YouTube, watch the highlights, go to TikTok, watch the extra highlights. Like with Michael, think about it. I mean, when Michael first came into the league, you couldn't watch their games. You didn't get, I mean, if he played certain nights, Michael scores 48. How do unless Sports Center gave me like three baskets, I couldn't even watch the highlights until the
Mhm.
playoffs. So I don't think you can, I just think Michael had, in a strange way, a privacy advantage that made every time you saw him play special. That's not LeBron's fault.
I'd even extend that to what's happening on the court in the sense that, like, can you imagine if Michael Jordan's two Washington Wizards years took place during Twitter and every time he took a
Oh, he
defensive
get
possession
crushed.
off, every time he got back cut, every time he didn't box out, like that's the crazy part is LeBron has had his entire like age 38, 39, 40, 41 seasons
Right.
be microanalyzed on a possession to possession basis through clips on Twitter. And it's like the reality is we're seeing something completely unprecedented for a guy his age. But because it's being microanalyzed in many ways, it's like, oh, here are all the ways that LeBron's dropping the ball. Here are all the ways that LeBron is not coming through for his team. And I almost feel bad for him in that sense because I can only imagine if I microanalyzed every possession of Michael's Wizards tenure, how ugly it would have been at times.
Well, I've always said there's one 30 for 30. There's one great sports documentary left, and it's Michael Jordan with the Wizards. His teammates hated him. The coaches hated him. I mean, they'll do Andre the Giant. They'll do 30 for 30s on international soccer stars. I watched him play twice live with the Wizards. And the body language of his teammates, everybody hated him. And yeah, I also think Michael's a little like Marlon Brando. Is Marlon Brando the best actor ever? I don't know. But he's largely viewed as one of the first method actors where you go deep into the character, right? Like, and he had such influence over Pacino, Bob De Niro. You could argue Bob De Niro is greater than Marlon Brando, but Marlon Brando is considered like the start of method acting. Like if you watch acting pre-Brando and post-Brando, acting's better post-Brando. It's less mechanical. I mean, you feel like the people, which must be an incredible, daunting experience where you like become the character, like you live the character. And so Brando, when you talk about acting, like Brando's here, and then it starts with like Ralph Fiennes or Christian Bale. It starts after Brando. I don't necessarily think Christian Bale's less of an actor, but there is something to be said about Brando's the creator or the amplifier of method acting. Michael was not only great. I mean, there was a pre-Michael. It was called David Thompson. I watched him at North Carolina State. There was Dr. J. I'll argue if you have a minute YouTube clip of every player ever, Dr. J's highlights are more amazing than Jordan's. They don't even look human. I mean, he looks like a spider playing basketball. It's like the hand size. His college stuff at UMass is like, the hell is that? I've never even seen anything like that.
I've still never seen a
And,
reverse layup like the Dr. J reverse. No one can replicate it. It doesn't look any. It
or the
just looks weak.
Cooper
And it's
dunk where he
yeah.
swoops in and dunks with no dribble or one dribble. You're like, what? So it's like one of those things where Michael was the first basketball player, the shoes, the brand, the commercials. He wasn't the first guy that hung in the air. David Thompson and Michael and Dr. J predated him. But Michael was like good looking, brilliantly dressed. And let's be honest, 6 for 6 in the finals. It's mythical. It's magical. And because we don't have a lot of Michael, I mean, there's a handful of pictures of Michael sitting in a hotel room by himself, smoking a cigar. You didn't really know what he did until tip off. He was just kind of doing his own thing. So, and you are right. If he was with the Wizards, I mean, he was not that vertical a play. He had a fall away jumper with the Wizards. He wasn't jumping over dudes. He was falling back. So
LeBron was sixth in MVP voting last year. LeBron was sixth in MVP voting, and like at age 40, and I just can't even imagine. It's crazy to me how often those two stints are compared to each other, and it's like this is not the same. What LeBron is doing right now has never been done before.
So I got into this discussion with a friend. I watch sports because even in Anguilla, you can, watch domestic TV. So I watched Thursday, Friday. I sat and watched a lot of college basketball on the beach. And I was texting a buddy about some NBA stuff. And we were talking about Giannis. Giannis he's a Knicks fan, my friend. And he said, "What would you give up for Giannis?" And I said, Giannis is fascinating. Like certain people, Tom Brady and LeBron, just don't get hurt much. They just age brilliantly. And because they're so committed to being in shape. I mean, it's not a coincidence Anthony Davis got hurt a lot. He was rarely in elite shape, right? And so, but Giannis appears to be in great shape. He increasingly gets hurt. His game doesn't age particularly well. So I told my friend, I said, well, Giannis can't shoot outside of 16 feet, so he needs the ball. Well, I don't want him taking the ball out of Brunson's hands. Like, absolutely not. So can he play off ball? A lot. And I'm like, actually, the guys that can, you'd have to give up to get Giannis. And I thought I'd just kind of a thinking piece on Giannis. Not everybody ages the same. We've talked about this. You and I maybe have, but Middlecoff and I have, about Cam Newton did not age well because he was hyper athletic. I don't think Westbrook has aged particularly well. Steph, the shooter, aged well. Kobe, the shooter, aged well. But hyper athletic players in all sports don't necessarily age well. And I said to him in the honest, I said, yeah, I'd give up probably 3 firsts, but God, I'd hate to give up OG. Like, that'd be but that's what Milwaukee wants. What is the value? Because when you make a trade like that, if you're giving up 3 first-round picks, then he has to be great for those 3 years. You can't give up picks for 4 years and you get 2 great years. What is Giannis worth today for the next 4 years? You run the Knicks, Jason Timpf. What do you give up for him? Well, today's show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet, Florida Sportsbook. How much fun has this tournament been? If your bracket's already busted, I'm still hanging in. I got Florida, Michigan in the Natty. But if yours is busted, don't worry. You can still call the next big upset, turn your picks into payday on Hard Rock Bet. All tournament long, Hard Rock Bet is rolling out daily dancing boosts featuring a live profit boost and a parlay profit boost every single day. That's more ways to shoot your shot and cash in with the boosted odds. And those heart-stopping zero on the clock moments? Now they pay. Hard Rock Bet's giving out $25 bonus bets throughout the tourney, so the team you bet to win or just to cover hits a buzzer beater. If you haven't joined the Hard Rock Bet yet, now is the time. New signups can double their winnings on their first 10 bets, max $50. That means if you would have won $100 in your bet, it's $200 now. So don't sit on the bench. It's a perfect time to join. Download the Hard Rock Bet app today. We love doing business with them. Get the party started.
Well, the league tells you the answer to this sort of thing, right? Like, I thought it was really fascinating, the teams that were in on Giannis when he became available around the deadline. There was the one, take Minnesota and set them to the side, because that was the one team where I was like, why does Minnesota want Giannis? Like, you've got this 23-year-old guy that is the first dude who's ever kind of replicated some of MJ's aura. Why are we trying to pair this dude with a like a early 30s power forward that's falling apart? But you look at Golden State, completely desperate. Literally no young player on the horizon that could take them into the future. Just Steph Curry, who's going to be 38 years old, who just turned 38 in March, right? And then you had Miami, who's been destined to go nowhere for the last several years, and New York, who everybody knows deep down, because of Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, probably can't win, right? So like those were the other teams that were in on it, right? And like, so the lower leg injuries freaked me out a little bit. And the outside of the 2021 series where he wins the championship, right? In 2022, where I will say that second round series against Boston was one of my favorite star playoff performances ever, because that was the year that Middleton was hurt and Giannis just almost single-handedly beat that Celtics team. And Giannis deserves a ton of credit for that. But he hasn't played in a second round playoff series since then. Like, he's missed playoff games with injury. He's had additional playoff rounds where he's been healthy, but hasn't been able to take his team out of the first round as recently as last year, right? So like, as we've seen time and time again, Giannis is really, really good, but he's clearly on the either the very bottom end of the top tier superstar tier. Like, you're not going to find a single GM in the league who's going to take him over Luka, Shea, Wemby, Jokic. Like, he's clearly below those guys, if not even in the tier below. And these lower body injuries, they just keep piling up. It's calf strain here, knee injury there, calf strain here, knee injury there. And so when you factor all of that in, he is now officially an extremely high risk asset. And so the whole point with Golden State, for example, is like I think they put 4 first round picks on the table, for example. You put 4 first round picks on the table for Giannis, and you bring Giannis in, and he gets hurt and you lose in the second round, everyone's like, well, we had to go for it. Like what were you going to do? Lose with Steph by himself or lose with Steph with Giannis, right? So like, you have no real choice. Miami, again, not going anywhere. New York, if they were able to pull off a Karl Anthony Towns swap, now it's interesting. To your point, OG Anunoby, you get rid of OG Anunoby and you make a move for Giannis, and Giannis gets hurt. That team is getting killed with Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, and Jalen Brunson. So the risk factor is extremely high there. Now, if I was the Knicks, I would include an OG Anunoby, just simply for the same reason what I was talking about with Golden State. What do you have to lose if you're the Knicks, right? Like, yes, OG Anunoby is this deeply valuable role player, but he's a deeply valuable role player that makes a hell of a lot of money, ties up a huge chunk of your cap. And again, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm looking at the East right now and I'm like, do I think we can beat Cleveland? Yeah. Do I think we can beat Boston? Yeah. Do I think we can beat Detroit? Yeah. But like, can we beat 2 of them? It gets a little more sketchy. If I'm a Knicks fan, I'm not going into this playoff run thinking we're finals bound. Like, I'm thinking maybe like we can, you know what I mean? So like, at this point, if I'm the Knicks and it gets to the summertime and I have the ability to turn OG Anunoby in a first round pick into Giannis, I do it. But it's simply because of the fact that I don't think that team necessarily has any sort of clearly defined ceiling that they're missing out on if they give them up. But where I draw the line is like Minnesota. So, for example, like if I'm Minnesota, Jaden McDaniels keeps getting better every year.
Oh,
he's
I know.
He's become a very good 3-point shot. Like
I said a month ago, I said the Lakers need about 3 players in the offseason. And then I said, before I went on vacation, I said, if you just put Jaden McDaniels on the Lakers, doesn't need the ball, catch and shoot, excellent.
Guard the other team's
wing
best
defender,
player. Yep,
excellent. I'm like, if you just put him on the Laker roster, you're like, oh, that team could make the finals. Like so. It's I'm glad you mentioned it, because I'm like, that guy is. There's always a player in the NBA. Klay Thompson used to be this. That doesn't need the ball, can give you 24 on any night. That would work with every roster in the league. It was Klay Thompson for about 8 years. Defended, catch and shoot, good teammate, and would defend like real players. Jaden McDaniels has become that guy. Like, he works with every roster in the league overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and the difference between the New York thing and the Minnesota thing is like, if you really dig back in NBA history, there are exceptions. Like Boston, for example, they didn't have a real number 1 guy, but they had 2 guys that were close Tatum and
Right.
Brown were both like right there, right? Like if I'm New York, like Jalen Brunson is clearly off of that top tier. So like if I'm getting Giannis, my whole thought process is Giannis gives me a guy who can
Right.
go against the guys in the NBA. But if I'm Minnesota, I already have that guy. He's Ant. He's ascending. He's not
Yeah.
27, 28. Oh my gosh, we have a 3-year window here and then it's over. He's ascending, getting way better every year, and probably in the next 3 to 4 years going to be competing for the best player in the world title. That's the type of talent that Anthony Edwards is, right? So like with Minnesota as an example, that's why, by the way, that's why San Antonio didn't call on Giannis. San Antonio's like, no thanks, we're good. You know what I mean? We got our guy, we have the roster, we have the pieces we need to be malleable and flexible over the course of the next few seasons. I just think the line is because of his injury history and because he's never really truly been as good as the best guys. Because of that, I think I draw the line at any sort of young team that already has an ascending young superstar like Minnesota.
Let's spend about 15 minutes on March Madness. I picked Florida and Michigan to meet in the final, Michigan to win close. I still feel really good about that. Yaxel Lendenborg, who's a transfer NIL, just a long, runs the floor, can hit a three, 6'9", 240. I mean, you can tell how much better college basketball. And I'm glad the announcers have brought this up because over the last 3 years with NIL and the American economy is much bigger than the European economy, we've got about 30 guys playing college basketball that weren't around 4 years ago. They were staying in Europe. Well, now we just go buy them. So, I mean, Michigan has a front line that looks like an NBA front line. Michigan's gigantic. That didn't exist in college basketball like 5 years ago. Teams, you just didn't look like that. Now you can just go buy Europeans, the transfer portal, you can go buy size. So I think Michigan's the best team, but Florida's really good. But the most interesting player to me is Darius Acuff from Arkansas, who is a just an hyper athletic 6'2" guard, listed at 6'3", closer to 6'2". But I'm watching him with John Calipari, who's always been a great recruiter and does a pretty good job of developing players. And I'm happy for John because we've had a contentious relationship, but John can recruit and John can coach, and overnight Arkansas is excellent. But as I'm watching Acuff, and I mean, he jumps off the television. You're watching a game. It's like, what in that? You can argue after Darren Peterson, you could take him number two. There's an absolute argument for that. Boozer's not great athletically. BYU gets bounced quick. Peterson's going number one because there's so much special. But what's interesting about Acuff, small, not really a willing defender, and needs the ball. And as I watched him, and this is just off the cuff, but my comp is a little bit of Westbrook, better shooter, but a little bit of Westbrook, a little bit of Trae Young, but he's a stronger athlete. He's a stronger athlete. But my question is, would he be a good NBA teammate? Now, we know the NBA doesn't go through 6'2" guards. You don't win titles that way. But he is probably the best athlete in college basketball, and he's exhilarating to watch. He's got like if Ja Morant would have been mature, Ja Morant would sell out arenas. He just couldn't get his act together. How do you think Acuff as a pro works? Because I look at him and I think he is not willing to defend. And that's what's worn out people on Trae Young. Like he's just not even willing to D up. And 82 game schedule, you're giving up 38 on your end. Like it creates resentment. Like, how does he translate to the NBA beyond points?
So the defensive question marks are real, and I think that's what makes him clearly off of that top group. Like DeBonson and Peterson are going to go 1-2 in some order. I personally would even take DeBonson number one, but a lot of people do have Peterson over him. But those two will go 1-2. A lot of people are high on Boozer. I'm nowhere near as high on Boozer as everyone else.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps telling me that Boozer is this like bully ball player that has outstanding feel that can like see the floor, but I keep seeing him get surprised by double teams and turn the basketball over. And
he got worked in the first game of the tournament.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Boozer. That's not to say that he'll go no lower than 4, but like I'm not as high on Boozer as everyone else is. You could argue Acuff as high as number 3. The thing with Acuff is, if he didn't have these major defensive question marks, he would be a candidate for number 1 because he's one of the most well-rounded guard prospects to ever come through college basketball. there's usually some sort of imbalance in the sense that you'll get a guard like John Morant, for example, that is an outstanding to the basket athlete, but that cannot shoot. Or
Right.
you'll get Trae Young, who's like this outstanding passer and perimeter scorer, but that is extremely slight and struggles to beat people off the dribble and doesn't get to the basket much. Acuff's got all of that in spades. Like he gets to the rim 6 times a game, which is an enormous number, shoots 59% when he gets there, which for a small guard in college spacing is amazing. And then he's a dead eye shooter from every spot on the floor. He's 49% on catch and shoot threes. That's insane. 40% on pull up threes. Really solid mid range player. 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Very good passing guard. Like the dude's got all of the 3 level scoring. And so in the modern NBA, if I'm a coach or a GM, I'm looking at it as like, is this a guy that I can run a bunch of action through, a bunch of ball screens? Then the Acuff also is every bit as resilient in one-on-ones, like straight ISOs, as he is in ball screens. Like Trae Young, for example, needs a screen to get open. Like Trae Young's biggest question mark in the NBA is if you can switch, he's done because he can't beat people one-on-one. Acuff can beat people one-on-one. So like he is so well-rounded on offense. I would take a chance on him if I was an NBA GM at number 3, and I wouldn't worry too much about the defensive stuff. The main thing with the defensive stuff that gives me just a tiny bit of optimism is one, he does have some decent physical tools. Like he's got long arms for a small guard. Like he's got like about a 6'5" wingspan, which isn't too bad. And he's very, very fast. The reason why that matters is NBA teams have been learning how to protect small guards in their defensive schemes
Yeah.
for years now. And this is not Luka, where he's so slow that you can't run some of the advanced schemes to protect him. He's so fast that you can hedge and recover with him. You can trust him to make defensive rotations potentially in the future. And so I would bet on him becoming at least a guy that you can put into a defense and be okay and trust those offensive gifts to shine through.
Well, and the other thing is, Steph was never a defender. Magic didn't defend. The good GMs in this league, when you get literally, he'd be a top 5 NBA offensive player within 2 years in the league. I mean, he's literally that special. I mean, there is a Westbrook feel to him. You're like, Jesus, he could play other sports. Like he is just insane, but he can shoot. And I think it's instructive that you say this. He can catch and shoot. A lot of athletic guys that can shoot are rhythm shooters.
Yep.
They need the ball, right.
Mm-hmm.
Catch and shoot's an art. That tells me generally if you can catch and shoot, you have good form. That you like to shoot.
Absolutely.
A lot
you can
of
repeat your form. It's very mechanical. Yeah.
And so that tells me, okay, he can catch and shoot. A lot of great Derrick Rose, not a catch and shoot guy in his prime. He needed to be in rhythm. Same with John Wall. The good GMs know Dallas actually figured this out very quick with Luka. All right, we need length. We need rim protectors and length. Let's protect our star. This is what Bob Myers understood with Steph Curry. Like we need length. That's why Kevin Durant, we all talked offense. Kevin was a great fit, Andre Iguodala, but length around Steph Curry. Clay protected him for years. The Batman Robin. Clay was a great defensive player. So I just find when I watch Acuff, it's just like, man, stuff like this you just don't see players like that. This draft is really, there are 3 guys. The first 3 guys, Acuff, Peterson, the BYU kid, they would be number 1 in the last 5 drafts. Like they're all remarkable talents. Okay, so the number of double-digit seeds winning in 2016 was 10. The last 2 years combined, it's 9. So it's obviously the NIL money has allowed the Michigans and the Michigan States and the Dukes to go to a UAB or a second-tier program and just steal their one great player. So you can see it's very top-heavy tournament. But I was thinking about this, is that, and we're kind of banging on it, college basketball. I've had a blast watching the tournament. The truth is, almost every sport. I mean, we think of the NFL as sort of bulletproof, but for 20 years, the Patriots dominated it. And then for about 7, the Chiefs did. That's why this year's Super Bowl was so random, is that what's happening to college basketball is what happened to Tech, is what's happened to Hollywood over the last 7 years, the Avengers, dominant sequels. It's what's happened to the almost every sport unless you legislate against it. It's what's happened to tennis. It's what happened during the Olympics. It's what happens to the top international soccer leagues. Is that the top 12 to 15% dominate? They're either better capitalized, they have geographical advantages, they have brand advantages. So everybody's kind of like, well, we don't see the upsets. And my take is, tell me the sport we get all the upsets, right? Like Serena dominated for 2 decades. And so it doesn't, to me, I always thought March Madness, there was a lot of mythology to it. There wasn't a lot of 16, 15, 14, 13s winning, maybe once a weekend. Does it puncture the excitement for you? I mean, I still like watching big brands. I think there's more NBA bodies now than maybe ever. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. I watch for Kentucky, Michigan State. Like I don't watch it for Coastal Carolina. I don't watch it for High Point. I don't. Does it bother you?
You still get the one or two games in the first round with like the Siena Duke game, even though Siena didn't win, was still highly entertaining.
Yes.
Any sort of singular basketball game can just get weird for one reason or another. Like Cam
Right.
Boozer struggling the way that he did, or Siena shooting as well from three as they did in the first half. Like there's still enough variance to provide the excitement. I was literally talking about this with my wife yesterday. Like I remember everybody complaining so much for so long about players getting paid. And now they're all getting paid, and I'm like, this still is awesome. I'm still having fun. I don't know. Look at it. It still is an incredible product, right? And we do have to talk about just how insane college basketball players are getting in terms of the skill and the talent level. It's just I was watching that High Point versus Arkansas game yesterday, and I'm like, this basketball game is remarkably entertaining. And the everybody on this floor can shoot. Everybody on the floor is a freak athlete. Everybody on the floor can dribble. It's just it's outrageous. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Like just like in any other industry, over time, as the years go by, the entities at the top kind of just figure out how to dominate, right? They figure out
Yeah.
this is what works in this industry. This is how we kill our competitors. This is how we stay in front of the changes that are taking place in the industry. Similarly, in college basketball, through the transfer portal, especially, and that NIL money, the talent is just basically naturally filtering towards the top. And I would take it a step further. Like Siena's head coach just signed a deal. He's going to become Syracuse's head coach, right? So like the coaches filter towards the top. The same thing goes with just basketball strategy. All of the best teams have the with the most talent also have the best coaches. So they do all the little over time we figured out, right? Like we figured out transition basketball is more efficient than half court basketball. So we should all just be pushing the ball up the floor as much as possible. We should all be taking more threes. Now, there are some teams that have gone against that. Florida and Arizona, for example,
Yeah.
don't take a ton of threes. So there are counter examples, but people are shooting more threes than ever before. There's more ball and player movement. Like the game is getting perfected at the top, which is making it harder for the bottom to compete. And honestly, again, as I mentioned, it's not causing the product to be any less entertaining. I am having so much fun watching these games. Like it's been a basketball renaissance in my house
Yeah.
over the last few days. It's been unbelievable to watch.
Yeah. The size of teams. I mean, Cal Baptist had 2 7-footers. Like Cal Baptist, which is off the freeway in Riverside, California. It's like a for-profit university. I went to their roster. I'm like, Jesus, 7 foot, 7'2", 6'11", 6'10". I'm like, what? Fine, we'll wrap it up with this. My friend is Mark Few, Gonzaga. I love Mark. So they got beat by Texas. They didn't shoot the three well. In the last couple of years, they've gotten bounced in the second round. And there have been some pushback on, is it time to move off Mark Few? And my take is, okay, I actually watched John Stockton in college come to my college, Eastern Washington University, and score 42 points on us. I was broadcasting the game for a student station. John Condon was the other guard. Condon was his name, and John Stockton, but Stockton was just 42 against Eastern Washington. I was there. Before Mark Few, they won 3 tournament games, and they were slightly better than 500. Now they win 86% of their games and have 45 tournament wins. And remember, this is a state and a region, Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, that doesn't produce a lot of high-end basketball talent. Like he has to convince kids to go
To
to
move. Yeah.
Spokane. And for the record, there's a late great sports writer named Jim Murray of the LA Times. He could have been a comedy writer, and he always had a great line about Spokane, Washington. He always said, "Nothing happens after Spokane at 10 in the morning." So it's like the most boring. I love it. It's great golf. But it's like for him to get international players and like transfers from big schools there. And it's just one of those things where the truth is Gonzaga still doesn't have a lot of money. And it's he had success. A lot of it was pre-NIL. And I think over the last couple of years where, Gonzaga doesn't have a guy to give him an $8 million check. And so now it's like I think not that Gonzaga, they'll continue to be just outstanding, but it was what worked pre-NIL 3 years ago was great coaching and great culture. It won you a lot of games in the tournament. Now it's great coaching, great culture, and a great bankroll. And it's like sometimes it's just like you go up against the team in Texas and you're like, yeah, I can see the money. I can see that. And so I don't know. The pushback Mark Few is getting, it's the first Gonzaga team in 15 years that I watched and didn't like. I didn't think they were dynamic enough at guard. They were inconsistent. I mean, their scoring was front court. They've never been a great defensive program. They never have that like uber athlete on the wing to shut people down. They're like a really smart, well-coached culture, good offense, good spacing, good scoring in transition, good guard play, nice balance. But your take on sort of Gonzaga's last two, by Gonzaga standards, bumpy years.
Well, first of all, like that game could very easily have gone towards Gonzaga if just a couple of shots go in. Like
They couldn't
Gonzaga's
hit
been
threes.
they're a good 3-point shooting team that couldn't hit threes. And like I actually just dug into the numbers because I was curious. Texas only generated 3 open catch and shoot threes in the entire game, which means they defended really well and they went 2 for 3. Gonzaga generated 10 of them and only made 3 of them. So like it
Right.
was a poor shooting game. And like the kid from Texas hit that Camden Heidi hits that tough corner 3 that goes in. Couple threes missed for Gonzaga, you lose. That's basketball. That's how it happens sometimes, especially in single elimination. And you mentioned he's already at a recruiting disadvantage because he's trying to recruit kids up to Spokane. Now you have this NIL piece, and it's not even close, Colin. Like AJ DeBansa by himself probably made about double what his entire roster did.
Yeah.
John Calipari's roster is probably 10 times as expensive as what Mark Few had
Right.
up there in Gonzaga. So like the reality is like he's at a disadvantage there. And I also just look at it and go, Mark Few strikes me as the kind of guy that if Gonzaga fired him, he would just retire. But if he wanted to keep coaching,
Oh
he
God.
could go anywhere in the country. Like,
Well,
do you have
Oregon
any?
and UCLA have both offered him jobs before. He loves Spokane.
Exactly. Like I would just be like, it would just be such a gross mismanagement or a gross lack of appreciation for what you have in front of you there. Like I just think he's one of the great coaches in my lifetime watching college basketball. And I think that he's making the most out of a strategic disadvantage up there in the Pacific Northwest. And I couldn't believe some of the stuff that I was seeing flying around yesterday.
Hoops tonight, Jason Timpf, Lakers on a heater. Good hour. Nice going, buddy. Good seeing you again.
Good to see you too, Colin. Looking forward to the rest of the season.